I have this weird, deeply rooted obsession with simulation games this year, and honestly, I don't know when it started. Somewhere along the line, doing these sort of repetitive tasks and everyday tasks just in games became incredibly comforting to me, and there's something about methodically working through jobs, ticking boxes and seeing progress that just completely switches my brain off. And what makes it even stranger is that I'm especially drawn to simulators that revolve around jobs I would never want to do in real life. Take money laundering, for example. I am very much not built for the life of crime. It's way too stressful, way too many variables, and far too much chance of something going horribly wrong. So when I saw that Cash Cleaner Simulator lets you experience that side of things from the safety of your sofa with no real consequences, I was going to instantly be curious in this one. Now that Cash Cleaner Simulator is about to land on our Xbox consoles, I've been spending a frankly irresponsible amount of time cleaning, counting, drying, sorting, and occasionally throwing ridiculous amounts of cash around. And honestly, I've spent over 20 hours into this one already over the past couple of days, and that seems to be a real problem for me. So let's talk about what this game actually is, how it plays on Xbox, and whether it's worth your time, even if you're slightly tempted by simulation games. I want to give a massive shout out as well to the publisher for sponsoring this video today, and let's just dive right into it. At its core, Cash Cleaner Simulator is quite a casual, almost cozy experience. I know that's a bit weird to say, but it's all about cleaning money for the criminal underworld at entirely your own pace. There are no timers here, so there's no constant pressuring of you. There's no combat like other games out there. There's no sort of traditional fail states either. Instead, it's about you accepting jobs, money will then fall from the ceiling, and you have to figure out how to deal with it. And yes, money literally falls from the ceiling. The moment you take your first job on your phone, a mysterious hole in the roof opens up and starts raining down boxes, bags, suitcases, and sometimes even mattresses, all absolutely stuffed with cash. There's kind of no exploration and no cutscene and no questions asked about this. It's just how things work here. You'll unpack your money, you'll then have to clean it if needed, sort it, package it, and send it back out into circulation on those different jobs that you've been required to do. If money only rained in the sky in real life, I feel like my problems would be significantly reduced, but hey, one can only be dreaming. Early on though, you will notice that the jobs will start fairly simple, they're quite easy to get into, and I have to say these sort of introduction and sort of tutorial elements are really great. Someone might need, say, $5,000 packed into a backpack, and that's quite easy enough to do. Two small boxes will then fall from the ceiling, except they don't really land neatly. Cash Cleaner Simulator has a surprisingly chaotic physics system, and it doesn't take much for things to spiral way out of control, and I'd say that's probably the funniest moments here, to be honest. Boxes slide, bags will roll, and loose notes will scatter everywhere if you're not careful. It's incredibly tempting to grab a huge wad of cash, throw it into the air, and then just watch it rain down like you've won the lottery. It's also a very fast way to give yourself a lot more work to do, because then you have to keep picking up every single note again, and that can become a little tiresome task here. I learned that lesson early on, and I did not learn it permanently throughout my experience, and there were many times where I was picking notes singly off the floor. Once you've chased your money around the room for a bit though, you'll be starting to set up a proper little workflow. You'll grab your little table, you'll manually count your cash, order backpacks or containers from your phone, and then package everything up just for collection. This is also where the Xbox experience really does settle in. Movement here feels utterly solid across the board, picking up things is very straightforward, especially on controller now that they come over from PC, and navigating your space works is incredibly well as well. There is a nice sort of weight to handling objects here, even when things get a little bit slippery, and there's never really anything too complicated. Even the buttons on machinery are just really easy to press. It's so easy with those controls, and that's where I think they've really nailed it. Of course, jobs will get completed, money comes in, and before long you start thinking, surely there's a better way to do it, and thankfully there is so much to do here. As you progress, you'll unlock different tools that dramatically change how the game overall plays. A scanner will let you quickly check the contents of boxes without opening them, then money counters become absolutely essential, allowing you to count and separate cash far faster than doing it by hand. You'll also notice that your clients don't always send you exactly what you needed. Sometimes they send a little bit more, and that's where some extra little elements come into play. At first, I kind of just shoved that extra cash into a corner, thinking, meh, I'll deal with that later. Then another pile was formed, and then another, and you can see where I'm going with this. Eventually, I had so many stacks of loose money just lying around, like I was preparing for the world's messiest heist movie montage. Naturally though, as the time starts going on, you'll notice that a lot of the jobs that you're getting will get a lot stricter. You'll notice you have to send the exact amount, only certain currency types, and then packed into briefcases instead of backpacks. Suddenly sorting cash by hand stops being charming and starts becoming a little bit of a nightmare. This is where investing in better equipment of course becomes a lot more crucial, so you'll be able to buy stuff on your phone like sorting machines, shelves, trolleys, a little bit more here and there, and eventually automated systems that can actually separate currencies for you. And I tell you what, that's an absolute game changer. There's a a real sort of satisfying sense of progression here. I can see why this one has so many fantastic reviews over on Steam already from its time being released over on PC, and when your setup really evolves from that set of chaotic money pit into something resembling an actual operation, it's utterly fantastic. Don't get me wrong, it will still look messy, it's just organized messy, but to be honest, you just gotta take it how it comes in this game. There will be some really interesting complications that do arise every now and then as well. Your phone will ring every time again, and you're then told that dirty money's on the way. Moments later, a filthy duffel bag will crash onto the floor, and inside of that sort of muddy, bloody cash mixed in with some random junk like dice, shells, and other bullet casings that you don't really want to think too hard about. From here on out, Cash Cleaner Simulator keeps layering in a lot of new mechanics as well. So you have like your wet money, which will need drying in a dryer. You have dirty money that needs washing. Yes, there is a washing machine, and yes, you absolutely need to pay attention to its settings as well. At one point, I genuinely started wondering if I'm running a laundromat on the side, and it might have been a solid business move, to be honest. But that's where the extra elements keep getting added in, and I think that's why I've spent so much time in this one. It just gets so addictive very, very quickly. You also need to be extremely careful, as you'll get certain lock bags at times. So obviously there's been bank heists that have been going on. Of course, some of them in that aspect will contain stuff like die packs, and if you open them incorrectly, they'll explode, ruin everything inside. You then have to painstakingly clean die notes one by one, and it takes a long time and really does test your patience. I have to say, I probably spent like 20 minutes just cleaning one wad of cash. It's so long, and you just have to go into it with a little bit of patience, unfortunately. But I have to say, it's one of the aspects that really has to make you think on the side. You can't just open things willy-nilly. There was one job though where I actually looked at a pile of ruined cash, sighed deeply, and cancelled that contract entirely. You do lose reputation as well, but it's a much easier to regain than cleaning hundreds of individual notes by hand. Sometimes cutting your losses is the real strategy, and I like that the game implements that instead of just shoehorning you down one route where you have to spend countless hours just cleaning money. Sort of circling back though, as I mentioned before, the scale of everything here really does increase over time, as stuff like multiple currencies will get introduced. Storage then becomes essential, and your once manageable room starts to feel a little bit cramped and chaotic, especially if you're like me and keep hoarding leftover cash just in case, or if you just keep boxes in a corner because hey, you don't really want to order anymore. But this is where the game's longer term goal really does reveal itself. You're essentially just trapped in this room as punishment. Hanging above you is a massive glass piggy bank, and it represents your only way out. You need to fill it with $1 million, and seeing that number for the first time is genuinely intimidating. It kind of reminds me of like Squid Game when they have that massive piggy bank overhead. It's very reminiscent for that, so you know exactly what I'm on about if you've watched that show. I actually started by hoarding my cash into the piggy bank, fully expecting to make a huge dent. I looked up, barely scratched the surface, and it's just under $200,000. I had $800,000 to go. Tell you what, that's a long time coming, but at least you have a lot of replayability here. I ended up actually rolling the credits at about 18 hours or so, and for me personally, that felt like a little bit too long. After 8 or 9 hours, I've unlocked all the tools, upgraded my setup, and experienced kind of everything the game had to offer mechanically. But as someone who's an achievement hunter, I of course had to play it to 100%. From that point on, it became a little bit more about repetition than discovery, but I kind of don't mind that. This game was one of those nice ones where I could sit back on the sofa, have my little snacks next to me, with my partner by my side while she was sort of reading her book, and then I could just relax and switch off for the day. Like I said, if you really love that core loop, the length might work in your favor, and it's just very relaxing. In terms of the performance though, on both the Xbox Series X and S consoles, I have played the game across both of them. The game is mostly solid across the board. I did notice the occasional frame drop here and there when there were large amounts of cash and items scattered across the room, but there was nothing really game breaking. Both the games look absolutely phenomenal. It's a simulation game at the end of the day, it's not something graphically intensive. I did come across a few different bugs here and there. One encounter, for instance, was about a very stubborn box that made the game absolutely refuse to let me destroy or even deliver. Any attempt to sort of interact with it caused a hard crash. In the end, I kind of threw it onto a couch, left it there permanently, and it kind of became part of the furniture. We reached an agreement at that point. I'm never going to go back to it ever again. So where does that really leave us? Well, Cash Cleaner Simulator for me is just a lot of fun, to be honest. There's something so deeply satisfying about throwing money around, stuffing it into your different mattresses or bags, knocking it over boxes, and then watching thousands of dollars just spill across the room. It's chaotic, oddly relaxing, and often unintentionally hilarious, and it really reminds me of other games like Hotel Manager and all of this sort of simulation experiences you get these days on Xbox and I just love that this one actually stands out amongst the crowd as one that's really enjoyable for me. If you are interested though, Cash Cleaner Simulator, the satisfying money processing sim from developer Mind Control Games and publisher Forklift Interactive, is out now for both the Xbox Series X and S consoles and PlayStation 5. You can check out with the link below, and thanks so much for the devs today for actually sponsoring this video, as it's been really enjoyable to check it out. Do let me know in the comments what your favourite simulation game is, or if you're going to be picking this one up, or if you found yourself sort of weirdly enjoying these virtual chores in games like Power Wash Simulator.